drifted through the black emptiness of space like a metal ghost looking for bones. Captain Kim Day-1 stood at the front window and watched the debris field spread out before him, like a graveyard made of starship parts. Twisted metal floated in silence. Broken hulls spun slowly in the void. The battle here had been terrible, and now only the dead remained. Day-1 was 53 years old with gray hair cut short and a face full of scars from 30 years of salvage work in deep space. He had seen many battlefields like this one. The big alien empires fought their wars and left their garbage behind, and humans like him came to pick through it. That was how things worked in this galaxy. Humans were small. Humans were weak. Humans were useful for cleaning up messes. Park Hannah walked up beside him and looked at the debris with hungry eyes. She was the chief engineer of the Dustwalker, and she loved alien technology the way some people love music or art. She was 38, with long black hair tied back and grease stains on her fingers that never really washed off. This was a fight between the Velek and the Shal, she said. I can see pieces from both sides floating out there. Day-1 nodded slowly. The Velek Dominion were insect creatures with hard shells and cold minds. The Shal Collective were beings made of living crystal who thought humans were barely worth noticing. Both empires treated humanity like children who had wandered into a room full of adults. Useful sometimes. Ignored mostly. Never respected. Lee Tae-han called out from the pilot's seat behind them. Captain, I am picking up something strange on the scanner. There is a large object about 2 kilometers to port. It is not moving like debris. It is too intact. Tae-han was the youngest of them at 26. He had served in the Earth military before joining the salvage crew, and he still carried himself like a soldier. His eyes were sharp, and his hands were steady on the controls. Show me, said Day-1. The screen flickered and displayed the object. All 3 of them went silent. It was Velek battle armor. Not the small kind that common soldiers wore. This was the legendary Crimson Carapace class. The armor stood 4 meters tall and was shaped like a giant insect warrior made of dark red metal. These suits were the pride of the Velek military. They had never been captured by any enemy. They had never been studied by outsiders. They were worth more than the Dustwalker and everything in it combined. How is that possible? Hannah whispered. These things are programmed to self-destruct if the pilot dies. They never fall into enemy hands. Never. Maybe the self-destruct failed, said Tae-han. Maybe we got lucky. Day-1 did not believe in luck. In 30 years of salvage work, he had learned that when something seemed too good to be true, it usually was. But he also knew that opportunities like this came once in a lifetime. Bring us alongside, he ordered. Hannah, get your tools ready. We are taking it aboard. The next hour was tense and careful work. They used the cargo arms to grab the armor and pull it into the ship. The armor was heavy, and Hannah worried about traps or alarms, but nothing happened. The Crimson Carapace sat in their cargo bay like a sleeping giant made of alien metal. Hannah circled it slowly with her scanner in hand. The armor was sealed shut, and she could detect organic matter inside. The pilot was still in there. Dead for sure, but still present. The Velek bonded with their armor in ways humans did not fully understand. I need to open it, she said. I need to see inside. Is that safe? Asked Tae-han. Probably not, Hannah admitted. But when will we ever get another chance like this? Day-1 thought for a long moment. His instincts told him to dump the armor back into space and fly away fast. But his curiosity was stronger. He wanted to know why this armor had survived when it should have destroyed itself. Do it, he said. But be careful. Hannah found the maintenance panel on the back of the armor. It took her 20 minutes to figure out the alien locking mechanism, but finally it clicked open. She shined her light inside and looked at the internal systems. Then she stopped breathing. "Captain," she said in a voice that did not sound like her own. "You need to see this." Day One walked over and looked where she was pointing. At first, he did not understand what he was seeing. There were marks on the inside of the maintenance panel. Smudges and prints pressed into the metal surface. "Fingerprints," Hana said. "Human fingerprints." "That is impossible," said Day One. "I know, but look closer." He did, and he saw something else beneath the fingerprints. A symbol stamped into the metal. It was faded and worn, but still visible. A circle containing an image of Earth with olive branches on either side. He recognized it from history books. It was the seal of the old United Earth government. That seal had been discontinued 200 years ago. Day One felt cold spread through his body. This armor was supposed to be pure Velic technology. No human should have ever touched the inside of it. And yet here were human fingerprints and an Earth seal that was older than his grandfather. "What does this mean?" Hana asked. "I do not know," he admitted, "but I know it is dangerous. Whatever this secret is, someone has been keeping it for a very long time, and they will not want us to know about it." He turned to Taehyun. "Kill all outgoing signals. No communications. No beacon. Nothing. We are going dark." Taehyun nodded and started working the controls. "Where are we going, Captain?" Day One looked at the armor again. The dead Velic pilot inside it. The human fingerprints that should not exist. The ancient Earth seal that raised questions he was afraid to answer. "I do not know yet," he said. "But we need to get away from here. We need time to think. We need to figure out what we found and what it means." Hana closed the maintenance panel and stepped back from the armor. Her hands were shaking. In all her years of working with alien technology, she had never seen anything like this. Humans were supposed to be newcomers to the galaxy. They were supposed to be the primitive species that the older empires tolerated and ignored. But this armor suggested something different. It suggested that humans had been involved with alien technology much longer and much deeper than anyone knew. The Dustwalker turned away from the debris field and began to move toward open space. The One watched the stars through the window and felt the weight of secrets pressing down on him. Then the alarm started screaming. Taehyun shouted from the pilot's seat. 3 ships just dropped out of hyperspace. Velic warships. They are heading straight for us. Da One looked at the screen and saw the enemy vessels approaching fast. They were military ships with weapons already powered and ready to fire. Someone had been watching this debris field. Someone had been waiting to see if anyone found the armor. And now they knew. "Can we outrun them?" he asked. "Not a chance," said Taehyun. "They are faster than us in every way." Day One looked at the armor sitting in his cargo bay. He looked at the approaching warships. He thought about the human fingerprints and the Earth seal and the 200 years of secrets that someone wanted to keep buried. "Then open a channel," he said. "Let us find out what they want." The screen flickered and a Velic face appeared. It was Admiral Beak, and his compound eyes stared at Day One with an expression that might have been curiosity or hunger or both. "Human," the Admiral said, "you have found something that does not belong to you. We need to talk." The Dustwalker hid inside an asteroid field, while 3 Velic warships waited outside like predators watching trapped prey. Captain Kim Dae-won had bought them time with careful words and promises to talk, but he knew that time was running out fast. Admiral Beak had given them 6 hours. 6 hours to decide whether to hand over the armor or face destruction. The Admiral said he wanted to negotiate, but Day One had seen the weapons on those warships. Negotiation was just another word for surrender. Park Hannah worked in the cargo bay with cables and tools, spread around her like the guts of some mechanical creature. She had connected her computer to the armor and was trying to pull information from its damaged databanks. The work was slow and frustrating, but she refused to give up. Most of the files are corrupted, she told Day One when he came to check on her. But I am finding pieces, fragments, enough to start putting together a picture. What kind of picture, he asked. A picture of lies, she said. 200 years of lies. She pulled up the first file on her screen. It was a video recording that flickered and jumped with damage, but the images were clear enough to understand. The recording showed a meeting room on Earth. Humans in formal clothes sat across a table from Velic diplomats in their ceremonial shells. The date stamp said 2647, 200 years ago. This is from the Border Wars era, said Day One. We were losing badly back then. The Shah were destroying our colonies one by one. Hana nodded and let the recording play. A woman stood up from the human side of the table. She was young with sharp eyes and a translator device hanging around her neck. Text at the bottom of the screen identified her as Yoon Ji-soo. Cultural Liaison. Jisoo spoke to the Velic in their clicking language and then translated their response back to the human leaders. The negotiations went back and forth for several minutes. Then something changed. The Velic made an offer that caused all the humans to go silent. What did they say? Asked Lee Tae-hyun, who had joined them in the cargo bay. Hannah checked the translation logs. They offered military technology, weapons and shields and ship designs that would help us win against the Shah. But they wanted something in return. What did they want? Said Hannah. They wanted human subjects for study. They said they were interested in human neurology, human problem solving, human creativity. They called it research cooperation. Daewon felt sick. He remembered the history books from school. The border wars had ended suddenly when Earth received new technology. That turned the tide against the Shah. Everyone celebrated the victory. No one asked where the technology came from or what price was paid for it. The recording ended and Hannah pulled up another file. This one was even more damaged, but it showed a laboratory. Human subjects lay on tables surrounded by Velic scientists. Machines were connected to their heads. Data stream flowed across monitors. They were copying us, said Hannah. Not just studying, copying. They were recording human neural patterns, human thought processes, human instincts. Why? Asked Tae-hyun. Because humans are special, said a new voice behind them. They all turned. Admiral Beak stood at the entrance to the cargo bay. He had transported aboard without warning and without permission. Two Velic soldiers flanked him with weapons ready. Day One reached for his sidearm, but Beak raised one of his four hands in a gesture of peace. I am not here to fight, he said. I am here to explain. And to ask for your help. You invaded my ship, said Day-1. I saved your ship, Beak replied. My officers wanted to destroy you immediately. I convinced them to wait. I convinced them that you might be useful. Useful for what? Beak walked past them and looked at the crimson carapace armor. His compound eyes reflected the red metal surface. 200 years ago, he said, my people made a deal with yours. We gave you technology. You gave us something more valuable. You gave us the thing that made humans dangerous. He turned to face them. Humans are not stronger than us. Not faster. Not smarter in the traditional sense. But you have something no other species in the galaxy possesses. You refuse to accept defeat. You adapt. You improvise. You find solutions to problems that should be unsolvable. We wanted to understand how. We wanted to copy a dot, so you experimented on our people, said Hannah with anger in her voice. Some volunteer, Beak replied. They were told they would be heroes. They were told they would save Earth. He pointed at the armor. One of them was a man named Choi Soo-min. He was an intelligence operative who believed in the mission completely. He volunteered to be the first human integrated directly into Velic armor. His neural patterns were fused with our battle systems. His creativity and adaptability became part of the machine. Day One stared at the armor. You put a human inside. Not as a prisoner. As a component. As a partner, Beak corrected. The project was called Earthborn. Sumin and others like him became the most effective pilots in our fleet. Human thinking combined with Velic technology. It was revolutionary. What happened to them? Asked High and Dot. They served for decades. They won battles that should have been impossible. But the project was classified at the highest level. No one outside the military command knew that humans were involved. Your government agreed to keep it secret. They were ashamed of what they had traded away, and now asked they won. Beak was silent for a moment. Now there is a problem. 7 Earthborn pilots survived. The armor keeps them alive far beyond normal human lifespan. They have been serving in secret for 2 centuries. But 6 months ago, they went rogue. Rogue repeated, They discovered the full truth about the project. They learned that we did not just copy human neural patterns for the Earthborn pilots. We used those patterns to upgrade our entire fleet. Every Velic tactical system for the past 200 years has been running on human strategic thinking. Every victory we have won was won using human minds. Day one understood now. The Velic had not just borrowed human creativity. They had stolen it and built an empire on it while treating humans as primitive newcomers not worthy of respect. The Earthborn pilots are angry, said Beak. They believe humanity has been cheated and suppressed. They believe both the Velic and the human governments have been lying to your people for generations. And they are not wrong. What do they want? Asked Taehyun. Beak turned to look at him. They want revenge. They want to expose everything. And they are heading toward Earth to do exactly that. If they succeed, there will be war between our species. A war that will destroy billions of lives. One thought of everything he had heard. The secret experiments. The stolen neural patterns. The 2 centuries of lies. Part of him wanted the truth to come out. Part of him wanted the Velic to pay for what they had done. But war meant death. War meant suffering. War meant that ordinary people would pay the price for what governments had done in secret. What do you want from us? He asked. Beak reached into his belt and pulled out a data chip. This contains everything we know about the Earthborn pilots. Their locations. Their plans. Their weaknesses. I want you to find them before they reach Earth. I want you to stop them. Why said Hana. You have warships. You have soldiers. We have enemies, said Beak. If the Velic military goes after the Earthborn, openly it will look like an attack on humans. It will confirm everything they want to tell your people. But if humans stop them, it sends a different message. It shows that not everyone wants war. Day one took the data chip and looked at it. Such a small thing to carry so much weight. And if we refuse, he asked, then I cannot protect you, said Beak. My officers will destroy your ship and take the armor. The secret will stay buried. And the Earthborn will reach Earth with no one to stop them. It was not really a choice at all. Day one put the chip in his pocket and looked at his crew. We will need supplies, he said, and information. And you will need to tell us everything about these Earthborn pilots. Beak nodded slowly. His compound eyes showed something that might have been relief. There is one more thing, he said. The youngest of the Earthborn is a woman named Kwan Mi Ray. She was integrated into the program against her will when she was only 17 years old. She has been a prisoner of the armor for 200 years. Hana stared at him. She was a child. She was useful, Beak replied without emotion. But our intelligence suggests she has doubts about what the others are planning. If you can reach her, you might be able to find another way to end this. A way that does not require violence. Daewon looked at the armor one more time. Somewhere inside it was the body of a human who had given everything for a cause that was built on lies. And somewhere out there were 7 more like him. Angry. Betrayed. Ready to burn the galaxy down. Set a course for the neutral station called Convergence, he told Taehyun. That is where we start looking. The hunt for the Earthborn had begun. The station called Convergence floated in neutral space like a metal city built on nothing. It was a place where all species met to trade and talk and spy on each other. Humans walked beside Velik and Shal and dozens of other alien races. Everyone pretended to be friendly. Everyone watched everyone else. Captain Kim Dae-won led his crew through the crowded corridors. They had changed into civilian clothes and left a dustwalker hidden in a private docking bay. Admiral Beak had given them credits and contacts but warned them to be careful. The Earthborn had friends in many places. Park. Hana studied her tablet as they walked. According to the information Beak gave us, there is a woman here named Shin Yunbai. She works as station security, but she is secretly loyal to the old United Earth government. She has been tracking the Earthborn for years. Why would she do that? Asked Lee Tae-Hyan. Because she knows the truth, said Hannah, or at least part of it. She's been waiting for someone to finally do something about it. They found Yunbai in a small office near the security center. She was 45 years old, with short hair, and a face that showed no surprise. When three strangers walked through her door and started asking questions about classified projects. I wondered when someone would come, she said, after Dae-won explained why they were there. I have been sending reports to Earth for 15 years. No one ever responded. I thought maybe they wanted to keep pretending the Earthborn did not exist. What do you know about them? Asked Hannah.Eun-by pulled up files on her computer. 7 pilots remain active. They were all integrated into Velik armor between 200 and 150 years ago. The armor keeps their bodies alive, but their minds have changed over time. They are not fully human anymore. They are not fully Velik either. They are something new. She showed them images of the 7 pilots. Their armor had evolved over the centuries. Each suit was unique now, customized by the human mind inside it. Some looked almost beautiful. Others looked like nightmares given physical form. The leader is Han Do-yun, she said. He was the 3rd person integrated into the program. He was a soldier who believed he was serving his country. When he learned the full truth about how humanity was used, he became angry. He has been angry for a very long time. What is his plan? Asked Day-1.Eun- by hesitated before answering. He wants to broadcast everything. All the records. All the experiments. All the lies. He wants every human in every colony to know what was done to them. He wants them to know that their greatest achievements were stolen, that their potential was harvested and sold to aliens who treated them like animals. That would cause chaos, said Tae-Hyan. That would cause war, said Yunbai. Which is exactly what some of them want. After 2 centuries of being used as weapons, they want us who use them suffer. They want to watch the galaxy burn. Not all of them, said Hannah. Admiral Beak told us about Kwon Mei-ray. He said she might have doubts. Yunbai nodded slowly. Mei-ray is different. She was the youngest when she was integrated. Only 17 years old. She did not volunteer. She was chosen because her neural patterns were exceptional. She was brilliant and creative in ways that made her valuable. She was a child, said Dae-won with disgust in his voice. She was a resource, said Yunbai. That is how they saw her. That is how they saw all of them. Tools to be used. Weapons to be aimed. How do we reach her? Asked Hana. I have a contact channel, said Yunbai. I have been trying to talk to her for months. She responds sometimes, but she is afraid. The others watch her closely. Do-yun does not trust her completely. She handed Dae-won a communication device. This is encrypted with a code only she and I know. If you want to talk to her, use this. But be careful. If the others find out she is communicating with outsiders, they will consider her a traitor. Dae-won took the device and put it in his pocket. Where are they now? Moving toward Earth, said Yunbai. They have been gathering strength for 6 months, recruiting allies, stealing supplies, building their network. Du Yin wants the broadcast to be perfect. He wants maximum impact. He wants every human to see the truth at exactly the same moment. When will they reach Earth? High in 3 weeks, Yunbai estimated. Maybe less if they push their engines hard. 3 weeks. It was not much time to stop 7 superhuman pilots who had been planning their revenge for decades. There is something else. You should know, said Yunbai. Something I discovered while tracking them. She pulled up more files on her screen. The Velic did not just copy human neural patterns for the Earthborn pilots. They used those patterns as the foundation for their entire tactical network. Every Velic warship, every battle computer, every strategic simulation, all of it runs on human thinking. Hana leaned forward with wide eyes. Are you saying the Velic military is powered by human minds? Copied mind, said Yunbai. Fragments of human consciousness spread across thousands of systems. Your ancestors were not just studied. They were uploaded, distributed, turned into the operating system for an alien empire. The room was silent. Day One felt the weight of this new information pressing down on him. It was one thing to know that humans had been used. It was another thing to know that pieces of human minds were still out there, still working, still serving masters who did not even remember they were human. Yun knows this, said Yunbai. That is why he is so angry. He does not just want revenge for himself. He wants revenge for all the humans who were taken apart and spread across the galaxy. He wants to free them. Can they be freed? Asked Hana. I do not know, said Yunbai. No one has ever tried. The copies are so integrated into Velic systems that removing them might cause everything to collapse. Ships would stop working. Weapons would fail. The entire Dominion could fall apart. Day One understood the stakes now. This was not just about 7 rogue pilots. This was about the foundation of galactic power. If humans learned what had been done to them, they would demand justice. If the Velic lost their human-based systems, they would lose everything. Everyone had reasons to keep this secret buried, but secrets had a way of escaping. And this one had been buried for far too long. I need to think, he said. I need to figure out our next move. He walked to the window of Yunbai office and looked out at the station. Thousands of beings moved through the corridors below. Humans and aliens living together, trading together, building futures together. Most of them had no idea how fragile that peace really was. His communication device buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out and saw a message from an unknown source. The text was simple. I know who you are. I know why you are here. Meet me at Docking Bay 7 in 1 hour. Come alone. It was signed with a single name. Me-Ray.Day-Wan showed the message to his crew. They all knew what it meant. The youngest Earthborn wanted to talk. She was taking a risk by reaching out. That risk deserved respect. I will go, he said. It could be a trap, said Tay-Hyan. Everything is a trap. Day One replied. The whole galaxy is a trap. But sometimes you have to walk into the trap to find a way out. He left his crew at Yunbai office and made his way through the station alone. Docking Bay 7 was in a quiet section where few people went. When he arrived, he found a figure waiting in the shadows. She was wearing civilian clothes, but he could see the outline of armor beneath them. Velic technology fused to human flesh. Kwanmi Ray stepped into the light. She looked young, barely older than 17. But her eyes were ancient. 200 years of memories lived behind those eyes. You came, she said. You asked me to, he replied. She studied him for a long moment. Then she spoke again. Du Yun is not wrong about what was done to us. The anger he feels is real. The injustice is real. But his plan will only create more suffering. More death. More lost futures. Then help us stop him, said Day-1. Myra shook her head slowly. I cannot stop him. None of us can stop him. He's too strong, too determined, too far gone. Then what can you do? She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small data chip. I can give you this. It contains Do Yun's complete plan, his targets, his timeline, his method for the broadcast. With this, you might be able to prepare, to control the damage, to find another way. Day-1 took the chip. His fingers touched hers briefly. Her skin was cold. Why are you helping us? He asked. Because I remember what it felt like to be human, she said. And I do not want to forget. She turned and walked back into the shadows. By the time Day-1 reached the spot where she had stood, she was gone. He looked at the chip in his hand. Their mission had just become possible. But the hardest part was still ahead. Do Yun was heading to Earth, and now they knew exactly what he planned to do when he got there. The Dustwalker raced toward Earth at maximum speed. Behind them, the Velic fleet followed at a careful distance. Ahead of them, somewhere in the darkness of Space 7, Earthborn pilots were preparing to change history. Captain Kim Day-1 stood in the cargo bay, looking at the data chip Mireille had given him. Park Hannah had spent 2 days analyzing its contents. Now she was ready to explain what they were facing. Do Yun's plan is brilliant, she said with reluctant admiration. He is not just going to broadcast the truth. He's going to broadcast it everywhere at the same time. Every colony, every station, every ship with a receiver. 12 billion humans will see the evidence simultaneously. How is that possible? Asked Lee. Tay-Hyan. He's been preparing for decades, said Hannah. He planted transmission relays throughout human space. Hundreds of them, hidden in communication satellites and space stations. When he gives the signal, they will all activate at once. There will be no way to stop it, no way to contain it. Day-1 looked at the projection showing Earth and the surrounding colonies. So many lives. So many people who had no idea what was about to happen. What exactly will they see? He asked. Everything said. Hannah. Records of the original experiments. Videos of humans being studied and copied. Documents showing how their neural patterns were distributed across Velic systems. Evidence that Earth governments knew and agreed to keep it secret. She paused before continuing. He also has a message. A speech he recorded explaining what the Earthborn are, what was done to them, what he wants humans to do in response. What does he want them to do? Said Tay-Hyan. Fight, said Hannah. He wants them to rise up, to demand justice, to take back what was stolen. He's not calling for peaceful protest. He is calling for war. Day-1 felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. They had the information. They had the timeline. But they still did not have a way to stop it. We cannot prevent the broadcast, he said. Even if we destroy Do Yun, the relays will still activate. The truth will still come out. Then we need to change how it comes out, said Hannah. Do Yun is presenting this as a call to violence. But what if someone else presented it first? What if the truth came out in a different way? A way that did not demand blood. Who would do that? Asked Tay-Hyan. Someone people trust, said Hannah. Someone who has been fighting for the truth for a long time. She pulled up a profile on her screen. Dr. Bayuna, historian. She has spent 30 years documenting human innovations that mysteriously appeared in alien technology. She has been called a conspiracy theorist. But she was right all along. Day-1 studied the profile. If they could get the evidence to Dr. Bay before Do Yun broadcast, she could release it herself. She could frame it as a historical discovery instead of a call to arms. People would still be angry, but they might not be murderous. It is a good idea, he said. But Do Yun will not let it happen. He wants rage. He wants revenge. He has been planning this for 200 years. Then, we need to convince him otherwise, said a voice from behind them. They turned to see Mireille standing at the entrance to the cargo bay. She had followed them from Convergence. Her ship was small and fast, and she had caught up without them noticing. "How did you get aboard?" demanded Taehyun, reaching for his weapon. "I walked through the airlock," said Mireille. "Velic armor has its advantages." She looked at Day One. "I heard your plan. It is not bad. But you are right that Du Yun will never accept it. He has been hurt too deeply. His anger has become his identity. Then how do we stop him?" asked Day One. "You do not," said Mireille. "I do. I am going to talk to him. I am going to make him see that there is another way." "He will not listen to you," said Hannah. "Maybe not," said Mireille. "But I have to try. He was like a brother to me for 2 centuries. He protected me when the others were cruel. He taught me how to survive inside the armor. I owe him the chance to choose a different path. And if he refuses," asked Day-1. Mireille was silent for a moment. "Then I will do what needs to be done." They reached Earth 3 days later. The planet hung in space like a blue and green jewel, surrounded by orbital stations and defensive platforms. Somewhere below 12 billion people went about their daily lives, working, playing, loving, dreaming. Had no idea that their entire understanding of human history was about to be shattered. Du Yun and the other Earthborn were waiting in orbit around the moon. Their armored forms floated in formation like ancient warriors preparing for battle. Velic ships kept their distance. Everyone was watching. Everyone was waiting. Mireille flew toward them alone. Day One watched on the screen as she approached Du Yun. Their communication was private, but he could imagine what they were saying. Pleas for reason. Arguments about justice. 2 centuries of shared history compressed into a final conversation. After an hour, Mireille sent a message to the Dustwalker. He will not stop. He believes this is the only way. He believes humans need to be shocked into action. "I am sorry." The B1 closed his eyes. They had failed. The broadcast would go out. War would follow. Then Mireille sent another message. But I convinced him to listen to someone else first. Someone who might change his mind about the method, if not the goal. He will speak with Lee Taehyun. Pilot to pilot. Everyone looked at Taehyun. The young man went pale. "Me," he said. "Why me?" "Because you are what he used to be," said Hannah. "A soldier. A patriot. Someone who believed in the mission. Maybe he will hear the truth from you in a way he cannot hear it from us." Taehyun looked at Day One. The captain put a hand on his shoulder. "You do not have to do this," he said. "No one will blame you if you refuse." Taehyun took a deep breath. Then he shook his head. "Someone has to try," he said. "Might as well be me." He went to the communication station and opened the channel to Du Yun. The Earthborn leader appeared on the screen. His armor was magnificent and terrible. His eyes burned with 2 centuries of rage. "You wanted to talk," said Du Yun. "Talk." Taehyun organized his thoughts. He knew this might be the most important conversation of his life. "I understand why you are angry," he began. "I understand why you want revenge. What was done to you was wrong. What was done to all the Earthborn was wrong. You deserve justice." "Justice," said Du Yun with contempt in his voice. "What does justice mean to you? Pretty words in a courtroom. Apologies from politicians. Nothing changes. Nothing ever changes." "You are right," said Taehyun. "If you broadcast this message the way you plan, people will be angry. They will fight. They will die. And in the end, nothing will change. New leaders will make new deals. New lies will replace old lies. The powerful will find new ways to use the weak." Du Yun said nothing. He was listening. But what if there was another way? Taehyun continued. What if instead of forcing people to react, you gave them the choice? What if you let them see the truth and decide for themselves what to do about it? They will do nothing, said Du Yun. Humans are sheep. They need to be led. No, said Taehyun firmly. Humans are not sheep. You know that better than anyone. You have human creativity inside you. Human stubbornness. Human refusal to surrender. That is what made you valuable. That is what made all of you special. He leaned toward the screen. Trust your own people. Trust them to be angry. Trust them to demand change. But let them choose how. Let them rise on their own terms, instead of being pushed by someone who has been away from humanity for 200 years. Du Yun was silent for a long time. The other Earthborn floated around him, waiting for his decision. Finally, he spoke. I will delay the broadcast. For 12 hours. That is all I can give you. Use the time well. The connection ended. Day 1 immediately contacted Dr. Bayuna. Within an hour, they had transmitted all the evidence to her. She understood immediately what needed to be done. When the broadcast went out, it was not Du Yun's voice that spoke first. It was Dr. Bay. She presented the evidence calmly. She explained what it meant. She called for investigation and accountability, but not violence. The galaxy held its breath, and President No Jae-won of the United Earth Government appeared on every screen. She had a choice. She could lie. She could deny. She could make excuses. She chose to lead. Everything you have seen is true, she said. And there is more. Project Earthborn was not discontinued. It evolved. For the past 50 years, Earth has been quietly preparing for this moment. We knew the truth would come out eventually, and we wanted to be ready. She looked into the camera with fierce determination. We are ready now. 1 year had passed as the broadcast changed everything. The galaxy was different now. Not completely transformed, but shifting in ways that would have seemed impossible before. Treaties were being renegotiated. Old lies were being examined. New relationships were being built on foundations of uncomfortable truth. Captain Kim. Day 1 stood in a great hall on the planet, Nexus Prime. Around him, diplomats and leaders from a dozen species talked and argued and slowly found common ground. This was the first Human-Velic Joint Summit, a meeting that many had said would never happen. The crew of the Dustwalker had been invited as honored guests. They were the salvagers who had found the buried truth and brought it back to light. Their names were in the history books now. Their faces were known across human space. Day-1 was not sure how he felt about that. He had spent his whole life in the shadows, working quietly, taking what others left behind. Now he was standing in the spotlight, and it made him uncomfortable. Park. Hana walked up beside him with a drink in her hand. She looked different these days. More confident. More alive. The past year had been good to her. Strange, is it not? She said. A year ago, we were picking through garbage, looking for anything valuable. Now we are here. We are still picking through garbage, said Day 1. It is just bigger garbage now. She laughed and looked around the room. The Velic delegation was across the hall, talking with human negotiators. Admiral Beak was among them. He had become something of an unlikely ally over the past year. Not a friend exactly, but someone who understood that the old ways had to change. Do you think it will last? Hannah asked. The peace, I mean. The cooperation? I do not know, said Day 1 honestly. Humans and Velic have a lot of history between them. Most of it is ugly. That does not go away just because some politicians sign papers. But it is a start. It is a start, he agreed. Lee Taehyun joined them wearing a formal uniform that looked uncomfortable on his soldier frame. He had been recruited by the new United Earth Defense Initiative. Not as a soldier anymore, as a diplomat. His conversation with Han Du-yun had shown that pilots understood pilots regardless of species. That skill was valuable in the new galaxy they were building. The Earthborn delegation just arrived, he reported. Du Yun is with them. Day One looked toward the entrance. 7 figures walked into the hall. They were not wearing their armor. For the first time in 2 centuries, the surviving Earthborn pilots had agreed to appear as humans. Their bodies were strange now. Part organic, part machine. Neither fully human nor fully Velic, but they walked with dignity, and the crowd parted to let them pass. Han Du-yun led the group. His face was lined with age that the armor had hidden for so long. His eyes still burned, but the rage had changed. It was not gone. It would never be gone. But it had evolved into something more complicated. Something that looked almost like Hope. Walking beside him was Quan Mirei. She still looked 17. The armor had frozen her body at the moment of integration, but her spirit had aged. She carried herself like an ancient soul in a young shell. She saw Day One across the room and nodded once. A small acknowledgement of everything that had passed between them. The Earthborn had become ambassadors of a different kind. Their existence proved that humans and aliens could merge, could cooperate, could become something greater than either alone. The hybrid integration program they were building would be different from the old. Project Earthborn. Voluntary, transparent. Human-led. It would not erase the crimes of the past, but it might build something better for the future. President No J1 took the stage at the center of the hall. She had aged in the past year. The weight of truth was heavy on her shoulders, but she carried it well. 1 year ago, we learned something painful about ourselves. We learned that our greatest strengths had been stolen, that our potential had been harvested and sold, that we had been treated as resources instead of people. She looked around the room at humans and aliens. Alike. It would have been easy to respond with anger, to demand revenge, to burn everything down and start over. Some wanted that. Some still want that. She paused. But that is not who we are. Humans do not just destroy. We build. We adapt. We find ways forward when there seem to be no ways at all. That is what made us valuable to others. That is what will make us powerful when we use it for ourselves. Admiral Beak stepped forward and stood beside her. It was a powerful image. Human and Velic side by side. Former enemies becoming partners. The Velic Dominion acknowledges the wrongs of the past, Beak said. We cannot undo what was done, but we can choose what happens next. We choose cooperation. We choose honesty. We choose to see humans as equals instead of resources. It was not an apology exactly. The Velic did not think in terms of apology, but it was an acknowledgement. And for now, that was enough. After the speeches, the hall filled with conversation and negotiation. Day One found himself standing alone by a window, looking out at the stars. So many worlds out there. So many species. So much history yet to be written. Hana appeared beside him again. Anthropic wants to hire me, she said casually. Day One blinked. What? She grinned. A company. They want me to help design the next generation of human-compatible alien technology. Apparently, my work on the Crimson Carapace impressed some important people. Are you going to accept? She thought about it. Only if my first project can be making the Dustwalker faster. Day One laughed. It was a real laugh. He had not laughed like that in a long time. Taihan joined them at the window. He looked tired but satisfied. I never thought I would miss being a simple pilot, he said. Now they want me to talk to aliens all day. Find common ground. Build bridges. It is exhausting. But important, said Day-1. Taehyun nodded. But important. He looked out at the stars. Do you think we made a difference? Really made a difference? Or did we just shift the pieces around on a board that was already broken? Day One considered the question carefully. I think, he said slowly, that humans have been playing someone else's game for a long time. Now we are finally playing our own. That is not nothing. A hand touched his arm. He turned to see Mi-Ray standing beside him. She had approached silently. Old habits from 2 centuries of war. Captain Kim, she said formally. Admiral Beak asked me to give you something. A gift. He said it was appropriate. She handed him a small box. Inside was a medallion. The same design as the old Earth seal they had found in the crimson carapace armor. A circle containing Earth with olive branches on either side. But this one had new words engraved beneath it. Terra Invicta. Earth unconquered. Beak said the honor you found has been restored, Mi-Ray explained. Modified for human use. It hangs in your cargo bay now waiting for you. Day One stared at the medallion. The symbol of everything that had been hidden. Everything that had been stolen. Everything that humans had endured. Why, he asked. Because Beak wanted you to remember, said Mi-Ray. In a galaxy that tried to use humanity's greatest strengths against them, humans did what they always do. They adapted. They survived. They reached out with open hands instead of closed fists. She looked at him with those ancient eyes in that young face. That is worth remembering. That is worth honoring. Day One closed his hand around the medallion. He looked at his crew. Hannah with her brilliant mind and hungry curiosity. Taehyun with his soldier heart, learning to be something new. And Mi-Ray, who had been a prisoner for 2 centuries and was finally learning what freedom meant. They were all just humans. Small compared to the empires around them. Fragile compared to the technologies that could destroy worlds. Brief compared to species that lived for millennia. But they were also adaptable, creative, stubborn, impossible to keep down for long. The galaxy had tried to use those qualities against them. Had tried to harvest them and distribute them and turn them into weapons for others to wield. It had not worked. It never worked. Because the thing that made humans special was not something that could be copied or contained. It was something that could only be freely given, and humans gave it. To each other. To their allies. To anyone willing to meet them as equals. Day One put the medallion in his pocket and looked out at the stars one more time. Come on, he said to his crew. We have a ship to check on. And a galaxy to explore. They walked out of the great hall together. Behind them, the summit continued. Diplomats talked and argued and slowly built something new. Ahead of them, the Dustwalker waited. Old and battered and beautiful. Ready for whatever came next. And somewhere. In the cargo bay, the restored crimson carapace armor hung in. Silence. Waiting. Remembering. Carrying. The seal of Earth within it. A reminder that humans were never meant to be contained. A promise that they never would be. The stars were waiting. And humanity was finally ready to reach them on their own terms. With open hands. With fierce hearts. With the stubborn refusal to ever surrender. Terra Invicta. Earth UNCONQUARED. Always.